Okay, so most eSIM companies charge us for data we don't use. So if we buy 5 gigabytes and only use 2, then the rest is gone. It's money wasted. But what if your data never expired and you only paid for what you actually used? Well, I just tested an eSIM in Italy, Switzerland, and the UK that promises exactly that. It's called Roamless. And in this video, I'll show you how it works and why their pay-as-you-go model will prevent you from wasting data and save you money, especially if you're a frequent traveler like Jan who hops between countries.
Roamless just provides what I need, which is internet when I need it in a very, very flexible way.
So what makes Roamless different from the other eSIMs I've tested? Well, firstly, you only ever need to install their eSIM once. And because it can connect to over 200 countries, once it's activated, it's available to use and there's no switching or reinstalling. Secondly, and this is huge, Roamless has a pay-as-you-go model called Flex, which works across the world and you just add credit to your account and it never expires. So if you top up $10 and only use 4 in credit, the rest stays in your balance until your next trip. That is massively different from most providers where unused data just disappears after 7, 15, or 30 days of use. And if you're a heavier user or you're staying longer in one country, Roamless also have a traditional data plan called Fix. These give you a set amount of data for 30 days in a specific country, and compared to Flex on price, these are cheaper per gigabyte. For example, here in the UK, 10 gigabytes on a fixed plan costs $18.95 or $1.90 per gigabyte, but if you use that same amount of data with Flex, you'd pay $24.50. And if you're unsure which to go with, it really just depends on how you travel. If you're staying in one place, using a lot of data, then Fix makes sense. But if you're jumping between countries or using data here and there, then just go with Flex. And if you have both a Fix plan and Flex credit, then you don't even need to decide for yourself because Roamless will just use the best option available. So let's just say you get a plan for Switzerland, but while you're there, you decide to hop over to France. Well, as long as you have Flex credit, Roamless will just fall back to using that to keep you connected. Honestly, that's pretty smart and another thing that makes Roamless quite unique and compelling. But if you're still unsure, later in the video, I'm gonna look closer at their pricing and plans and compare them to Airalo, Holafly, and eSIM. Now, aside from all the data stuff, there's one more feature that most travel eSIMs do not include, and that's voice calling. So Roamless actually lets you make phone calls to over 200 countries straight from their app. This could be useful if you need to call your hotel or airline or book a taxi, and you can access this by opening the app, tapping calls, and just dialing the number. Rates start at 1 cent per minute, and it just uses your wallet balance. One downside is that you cannot receive calls, at least not right now, but Roamless will soon roll out a local numbers feature where you'll be able to get a real phone number, which you can also use to make and receive SMS. So that all sounds pretty good, but how does Roamless actually perform in the real world? Because I've been using it across Italy, Switzerland, and here in the UK, where I'm currently in a forest, just because I wanted to see how Roamless holds up somewhere a little bit more remote. And surprisingly, it's been ridiculously fast. Roamless speed test, 34 latency, 300 megabits, 392, 430, 440. It's pretty good. Hey, the upload is a bit slower, for sure. Okay, yeah, so the upload's not great, but that download is insane. Also, a little detail that I really like, Roamless actually appears as the network name on your phone. I don't think I've seen that before with an eSIM. So, my experience, both in this forest and outside of it, performance and speeds have been solid. But what about Jan? Because he's used Roamless all over the world.
It's been excellent, and actually in Thailand I've compared Roamless with a few other eSIM providers just out of curiosity because I wanted to see which is the fastest, which provides the best connectivity, and Roamless constantly was among the best. I can't complain, to be honest, Johnny. It's excellent connectivity wherever I go.
Now, one of the great things about Roamless is that you don't have to spend any money to get started. New users get $1.25 in free credit just for signing up, which gives you around 500 megabytes of data in most destinations. So that's enough to test speeds, use maps or browse online, and you don't even need to enter your card details. And if you do want to take it one step further, maybe top up or grab a fixed plan, you can use my coupon code MANITO to get 1 gigabyte of free data. There's also an affiliate link in the description box, so if you'd like to support myself and the channel, then please do use that when signing up. And once you've got the app and you're registered, you'll then want to install your eSIM and get your free credit. So under the data tab, go ahead and tap install, and again tap install now. You'll then be redirected to your settings where you'll have to tap allow and then continue. Now, this activating part may take a moment, so please be patient, as it's really important that you don't close this window, and eventually you should see mobile plan setup complete. Tap done, and here you'll see mobile plan labels. You should have primary, which is your normal SIM from your home carrier or network, and secondary, which is your new Roamless eSIM. Go ahead and tap secondary, and then custom label, and change this to something recognizable, such as Roamless eSIM. Go back and tap continue, and then select your new Roamless eSIM as your mobile or cellular data. Also, if you want to make sure that your phone doesn't use your primary or home carrier SIM for data, then keep allow mobile data switching toggled off. So I've been doing some price analysis of Airalo, eSIM and Holafly with Roamless, and I found some pretty interesting stuff. Now, each of these providers have different plans and regions with different destinations, so comparing them like for like is almost impossible. Instead, I've picked a few popular places and regions, including Europe and the world. Let's start with Spain. At 5 GB, Roamless Fix comes in at just $10.95, which is by far the cheapest. That's also the case for 10 GB, but the real winner here is 20 at $24.95, and that's genuinely one of the best rates I've seen for that much data. Now, if you want more freedom, maybe you're not sure how much you'll need, then Flex is a bit more expensive per gigabyte at $245, but remember, you get the added benefit of no expiry. So in a way, Roamless gives you the best of both worlds, the lowest fixed prices and the most flexible pay-as-you-go option. And then there's Holafly, which does offer unlimited in Spain, but that'll cost you around $30 for just 7 days. So unless you're downloading and streaming non-stop, it's a tough sell, especially when you'll still hit a fair usage cap, meaning while Holafly may be unlimited, your speeds probably won't. In the UK, Roamless Fix holds up really well. Their 10 GB plan is cheaper than both Airalo and eSIM, and their 20 gig is on par with Holafly without the 7-day limit or potential throttling. In Japan and Italy, it's more of the same. Roamless consistently comes out as the cheapest option for fixed data. Now here's where it gets tricky. Because Roamless Flex is pay-as-you-go and works globally, the cost per gigabyte depends on where you are. So in Spain, it's $245, but in places like Ukraine, it can go up to $895. So if you're visiting multiple countries in Europe or traveling long-term, it's hard to say exactly what you'll spend. And this is the same case for global, except there's really still only one winner here, and that's Roamless Flex. That's because it's the only option that lets you carry data across 200 countries. You can top up exactly what you need, and you don't have to worry about wasting anything. And this is the part which really made me curious. Like, how does this actually play out over months of real-world global travel? Like, how much do people actually spend using Flex?
I started using Roamless about 1.5 years ago, and I started in Panama. Then I went to Colombia. No, actually, first I went on a cruise, visited a few different places for which Roamless was excellent because it just provided internet in all these places. Typical cruise layovers a day, so there's no reason to purchase an eSIM there. Then I've used Roamless in Colombia. After that, I've used it in Europe, Germany, in Spain, Switzerland, and then in Thailand, Japan, in Hong Kong, also in Qatar.
Oh wow, okay, so you visited a lot of places. In that case, how much money have you actually spent in Flex credit in total?
I would have to double check, but maybe in total $30 to $40.
After that chat with Jan, I asked him to confirm how much he'd actually spent in total, and he said he'd spent just under $30 to visit all of those places, which is insane value. And it got me thinking, what's the catch here? Because no provider is perfect, and Roamless doesn't really seem to have any flaws.
One of them is the pricing, which varies by region. So it's really, before I travel somewhere, I typically check, okay, does it make sense to use Roamless in that country, even to purchase an eSIM? In most countries, it's around $2.45 per gigabyte, but that can get up to, I believe, almost $20 in some African countries.
He's not wrong. If you visit South Sudan and use Flex, it will cost you $18.95 per gigabyte, which is very expensive. Although this isn't across the whole of Africa, some countries are cheaper. And also, as Jan mentioned, most destinations cost $2.45 per gigabyte.
I believe it can be also a little difficult to understand. When you first look at their app, it might not be clear to everyone that it's a flexible credit model, and I wish they would do a better job in communicating that.
I can see why this could be confusing, especially if you're used to seeing like the traditional model of fixed plans and data bundles. Roamless is very unique compared to other eSIM providers.
But once you understand it, it's fairly fairly easy to use and never had any issues.
So if you want the freedom to travel without constantly swapping eSIMs, worrying about expiry, or guessing how much data you'll need, then Roamless is honestly one of the smartest options out there. Flex gives you global coverage and no wastage, and Fix gives you some of the lowest prices for high usage on the market. If you combine these two, you've got a pretty powerful setup for data roaming. And remember, if you want to give Roamless a try, you get $1.25 in free credit just for signing up. And if you want to take that one step further and grab yourself an extra gigabyte of free data, just use my code MANITO. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions and if you've used Roamless before, because I'd love to hear your experience, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.